I'm going to cover now the area of the assembly of a VHF aerial. You'd be using VHF to pick up RT1 and 2 signals off certain transmitters still in Ireland. There's some other less well known uses for them, but that's the main reason people would find these particular aerials. The two main type of VHF aerials are 4 element and 7 element. This one here that I have in front of me is a 7 element, or a 4 element. And it's 4 element, I call it 4 element for one simple reason: it's 4 elements on it. Okay, so this body here is the main assembly backbone of the actual aerial, and then we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 elements that go on the satellite or onto the aerial itself. So I'll start off now by putting on the very end element. At the back of the you'll see that the elements are generally vary somewhat in length. The longest element goes in the very back of the satellite or of the VHF aerial. So we hand tighten to a certain point, then we use a flathead screwdriver, we hold the wing nut and we turn repeatedly until it locks on tightly onto the aerial. It's important that you tighten all the way, particularly when the aerial is being mounted outdoors, because over a period of time it will put up a lot of vibration, things like that. So if it's not locked in tightly, it eventually will rattle itself loose. The next thing we'll actually put on is this bracket, which is used to bolt it onto a pole. Now you can mount it two ways, horizontally or vertically. We're going to mount this particular aerial, set it up to be mounted vertically. So we slide it on, up along here, and the pole will be here, so you can see that the actual aerial is mounted this way, okay? The next thing we will do is, the most important part of the aerial actually comes next. I'll slide it on down along here. What we do here is we click it into position, slide it up exactly where we want it, and then we come along, and this is possibly the hardest part and start of the job, where we come along and these holes just need to be lined perfectly. Takes a little bit of jigging for this to work perfectly. And there it's true. Okay, we lock it in, and once again, this is locked with a wing nut. This nut is slightly larger than the other wing nuts. This aerial comes, when it's sold as a inside an individual plastic pack, so it avoids the possibility that components can be lost if they do happen to rattle themselves loose. Once again, there's a head on this screw, which can be used with a flathead screwdriver to tighten it into position. So we turn it another few times like this, and turn it around, and that will lock it tightly into position. So we'll move on from there onto the next element. Next element is smaller again. The last two elements on this particular one will actually be the same size as each other. So let me see now. Okay. The actual aerial itself is made of tubular aluminium, which means it won't rust, and also it gives it very good amplification, so it makes it an ideal material to use for building aerials. And then the final element that you slide in here, hopefully you practice will make perfect. This one might go in slightly easier than the last couple. That's it. So we've gone from what was just basically a pile of componentry to what looks like a fully assembled aerial in the space of maybe 2 to 3 minutes. So as you can see, this is a relatively easy to assemble aerial. Once again, I use my screwdriver to tighten the wing nut in, turn it a few times, and that's locked in quite tightly. Now, how to take a signal off of this? We'll do this by paring down the length of satellite cable, just as we have here. I'll just pare down the top of this, which is actually snip off this loose end here, come along, cut back about, in this particular case, I'd say I'm going to cut back about 4 centimeters of cable, make about 5 incisions all the way around, put a snip up the side of the black cable, pare it down, and on the outside here we have the ERC cable. We cut away this useless silver foil cable. So with the outside ERC cables, we wrap them together into a tight length, come along, cut all the way around. Here we have it. So you can see anyway in the center here, whoops, now I've forgotten an important part of this process, which is to actually shove these cables directly through this end cover. And it's quite fortuitous in this video that I should forget to do that, because in general assembly work that's probably the most common frustrating mistake people make, is that they wire up the area and then discover they haven't put the cap on, have to take everything back off. So what I'll do here now is I'll slide this metal strip through here. This is the earth wire, or cover wire, and it doesn't matter whether we screw this to the left or the right, just tighten it in, and when it's sufficiently tightened, you can see here I'll pull the cable, it won't pull back out. So the other side of this must be screwed in, and the far side. The important task here is twofold. Number one is that the earth and the core wire should never be touching each other, and number two is that when we're putting the cap on in a minute, that we don't put such strain on the cable as we screw it back in that the cable will actually break. This wouldn't be really a problem with the earth wire or the core wire, but it could be a problem with the earth wire, which is made up of the series of very small thin strands. So just continue on here, continue, push down, and that's it, on, nice and tight. So that's it in aerial, and on this particular length of cable I've already put a coax plug on the far end, so that is actually sufficient to run a signal from there directly to a television. So if we pointed this in this manner, we'd pick up horizontal signals, and if pointed this way, vertical signals for an aerial. So that's it, beginning to end assembly of a 4, and by follow on a 7 element VHF aerial.